So today we are going to be doing a recovery Q&A. Anne-Claire has a list of questions that has been submitted on her Instagram over the past few weeks, and we're just going to go through them together and essentially answer them from the perspective of eating disorder recovery coaches who also have lived experience. And Anne-Claire, how about you introduce yourself? Tell the viewers a little bit about who you are in your coaching practice.
Sure, thanks. So my name's Anne-Claire. I am an eating disorder recovery coach living in Belgium. I am 32 since a few weeks ago, I think. Yeah, 32. See, pandemic years don't count, so I'm still 30. Still celebrating my 30th. I'm just kidding. I don't care about getting older. I love it. It's a privilege. If anyone ever tells you like, no, it's just like, no, now I embrace it. Just like, yes, please bring on the extra years. It means all the good stuff and all the extra opportunities for memories and fails. But, I'll take both. See, first tangent. This is me. This is how my brain works. Welcome inside my brain. I will talk and then I will comment on what I say. And then we will lose track of where we were. So be ready.
It's much fun for me because I was about to join you on the tangent.
Tell me. Are you also discounting your pandemic years?
Well, I'm enjoying my 30s. I'm 31 and I'm feeling so confident in who I am. And I'm feeling seasoned in life and I'm feeling experienced. And I'm living life a little bit more consciously and mindfully than I did when I was in my 20s. So that's just my little contribution to you.
All right. I have a question for you. Do you feel like an adult? Do you identify as an adult?
I do identify as an adult. I would say that I think I do deal with some struggles with feeling like, as I say this all the time, feeling like I should be at certain points by now. Like I just went through a breakup and I was hoping I'd be married by now. So that sometimes makes my little heart be like, oh, well, are you an adult if this hasn't happened yet or whatever? But I definitely feel like an adult. I mean, I just traveled around Europe, essentially solo, besides the retreat that we just hosted. And I felt like such an adult because I had all of my stuff together and I played it safe and I planned everything. I did all the things I wanted to do. And I don't think I would have been able to do that at a younger age, like maybe my early to mid 20s.
That's so interesting. First of all, you said your little heart says maybe you're not an adult if blah, blah, blah. Right. That's definitely not your heart, girl. That's your inner critic in your head. Like, don't mix them up. Your heart is pure. Your head, well,
I guess I connect.
The mind does its own thing.
Yes, you're right. I guess I connected to like my little heart sadness because it's emotion. But I guess it is, you're right. It's just my inner critic.
So that emotion gave birth to that thought that was still not a fact, that you're not an adult.
I definitely do.
She already entered the coach mode.
I know, gosh, I didn't ask to be coached today, Anne-Claire. I'm supposed to coach other people.
I know. Also, it's so interesting. I still have a hard time feeling like an adult. Such a hard time.
Feel not like an adult besides, what's your standard for feeling like an adult?
I think that's the issue. I think that in my head, I defined it as a certain thing when I was younger. And I'm not sure it will ever happen. But right now, I don't feel it. I still struggle with adulting things, even though maybe it doesn't look like it. And I bought an apartment with my partner and I travel and I do the things and I have my own business and da-da-da. But for some reason, I still am I feel like a toddler adult. Or like a teenager adult, I feel like a baby adult. I feel like I still do things really awkwardly as an adult. I'm not seasoned. I'm raw. I'm in the package. They haven't opened me yet.
You want to know what's funny? Do you know what the word sophomore means?
Oh, I've heard it, but I don't know which year it means in human terms. At school, right?
So in human terms, when you're in your sophomore year of high school, you're a wise fool. Maybe
That's me. Yeah, that's me.
your sophomore year of being an adult.
I'm a wise fool. I like that. I'll take it.
So maybe that's what it is. It's like you're in the adult category, but you're still kind of the sophomore year of being an adult. Like maybe your 20s are freshman year, 30s is sophomore year, and then so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying?
I'll take it. I guess that makes sense.
I think adulting is really hard. I'm just going to say it. Like, I feel like an adult because I feel proud of the way I carry myself, the way I've grown as an adult. But things like making dentist appointments and doctor's appointments and little administrative things, that's what I view as like the adulting tasks. And those are really hard for me.
I mean, the top ones are like accountant, lawyers, bankers, like paperwork, taxes, like that's not fun. But at the same time, the fact that I don't feel it is because I've been my entire life the most responsible person of my age group. You know what I mean? Like I was always, the person that had everything organized, figured out, under control, like an event and planned for herself and for other people, and the person that would carry things for herself and all the just in cases, And I feel like I've carried responsibility on my shoulder for so long. And that now it's just like, I'm still with the, that little like backpack of responsibilities. And I'm like, this feels like kind of the same. So it can't be it, right?
Oh, that makes me have a lot of empathy for your younger self. Because
me too.
I'm seeing the difference now because when I was young, like, yes, I was a perfectionist and hilariously until around reaching full recovery. And I was like, I embrace mistakes and not being prepared and failing and screwing up. And I kind of swung the opposite direction. And so I think that's why I can see a lot of growth because I went from, being a perfectionist kid to a very, I would say, haphazard, chaotic young adult. And I've swung not back to perfectionism, but being able to be that responsible, prepared person in an adult manner, if that makes sense. So maybe you don't have a contrast that I can see myself because you've been holding it together your whole life. You didn't have your screw up phase.
Not really. Like I was always like for the longest time that as long as I can remember, very like, make sure that you get things right. Like make sure that things don't go wrong, make sure that you don't screw up. And so it feels like, it's just like, I feel like I've screwed up more as an adult. Like I take more risks now than I used to. Like I'm literally taking more leaps of faith in myself and like throwing myself into something, being like, no, you got it. Like that's my evolution. It's more you actually don't have to have it all figured out. You can just trust yourself and go for it. And you will figure it out as you go. That's maybe where I am in terms of the evolution, but it doesn't feel the same, right? And I guess maybe the contrast doesn't feel as dramatic because reality is, even though I can now afford to do that, as an adult, you do have more responsibilities. And so the backpack feels as full.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made sense.
I totally get what you mean. I'm hoping that the audience gets it.
This is how my brain works too. You are going to get analogies all the time. That's how I explain life because that's how my brain works. It's just like there's images. And so I comment on the images. Hopefully I haven't scared off every single person.
No.
But yeah, so that was only the start of us talking about who we are. And I literally just said my name and my age. So now it's your turn. Who are you?
So my name's Meg McCabe. I'm a CCI certified, so Carolyn Costin Institute certified eating disorder recovery coach. Let's see. I am from New England of the United States. So born and raised in Connecticut, bopped around New York, Boston, and was living in Denver for a while. So that's been my life. And I'm the host of the Full and Thriving podcast, which I'm assuming some of the listeners might be watching this too. So hello, everyone.
Hold on. That's not all that you are, because you and I are both CCI coaches, and you and I are both in the Recovery Collective.
Yes, we are actually the leaders of the Recovery Collective. And I'm guaranteeing many of the members are watching this right now too, because we've been teasing them about it I'm going to tease them about it today during our family check-in call.
I'm not going to lie. I also teased people when I did my last Instagram live, and I was like, something's cooking. Other than what I'm actually cooking, because that's what I do on my lives, if you don't have no idea what I'm talking about. So I know that we've dropped, both of us, a few hints here and there about this thing coming up.
New thing. But anyway, Recovery Collective, we should probably talk about it for a few seconds, minutes.
Yes. What is it?
What is it? Well, it's a global online recovery community that brings people with eating disorders together for things like workshop, peer support, gentle yoga, nourish and learn sessions with a ED dietitian. Every month, our members get access to a schedule of live classes and workshops they can take. And it's really amazing because the friendships that come out of it and the genuine connection and souls that you get to meet there is, for me, the coolest part. Because
it's a special place. It's so lovely, right? Because it really goes beyond just being taught things, right? It's not just workshops where you receive information. It's workshops that can be sometimes very interactive. We have the coolest humans that come and join us for those workshops. It's just like the most impressive, inspiring humans and speakers. And then we also have group coaching, yoga, etc., as you said, but then our community on Facebook, and then the peer support that they're giving each other is just the most amazing thing. Like I so wish that I would have had the guts to join the Recovery Collective if it had existed when I was in recovery, because being able to talk to humans that are in your shoes right now, like in the trenches, doing the work, and having a hard time, people who get you, right? Because you and I both know how mental health is stigmatized, and it's something that is still very hidden away, that we keep in secret. I definitely did that a lot until obviously now I don't so much, but I used to. And this allows to have a space that is safe and that is safeguarded by you and I, and where people see you for who you are and welcome you for who you are and get you. And they're there to support you and be your cheerleaders sometimes, right? When you do something, and it's just fun. And it's just amazing. I love it.
I love it too. I have to say the Facebook page right now is lit. And that's been an evolution, because I remember when we first started, you and I had to encourage prompts and postings and things like that. But people are going in there every day and just asking questions to their peers and getting an overwhelm of responses. Like everyone is dying to help each other out in that group, which is something I'm really proud of. But everything you said is so true. It's really such a beautiful community through and through.
Yeah, we love you humans if you're watching.
Love you guys. Thank you for being with us. We're surprised you are tolerating us. No, I'm just kidding.
They must be getting something out of us. Also, that's not just us. So, it's good, because in case they're like, oh my God, can she just stop going on random tangents? At least they can be like, okay, it's fine. We've got Talia coming for Nourish and Learn. We'll have some proper data.
Well, I try to keep it structured in the calls. Like I do a pretty good job keeping conversation.
You're a pro at this.
I'm a pro at facilitation of discussion.
You are. You truly are. Like it's in your blood. And and I've told you that already, that group coaching is like such a thing that you just nail.
Thank
It's like
you.
it comes out of you, it's natural, it flows. And yeah, you're just really good at it.
Thank you. Well, it's not for having it all naturally. I actually was a community health educator before becoming a coach. So I was for years going into communities and teaching about car seat safety and pedestrian safety and bike safety and all the safeties to folks in the community. So I've always been a group coach in a way.
Okay, I have a random question.
Yeah.
What was your favorite safety topic?
Car seats, 100%.
Really? Why?
I'm not a mom. Because I don't know if people watching can relate, but if you've ever been thrown into a job where you learn a skill after being hired that you didn't expect to learn, car seats was that. Like I had to take a 4 or 5 day car seat technician certification course. And what I love about it is every car seat's different, every car is different, and every child is different. So it becomes this problem solving journey every time someone shows up to get their car seat installed.
I mean, I believe you. Not a mom, no idea what that would look like, but I can imagine it happening.
And I nerded out. I would still.
I can see that happening.
And I'm not like really enthusiastic about technical things. Like this was a new side of me that appeared out of nowhere. But yeah, fun fact about me. I feel like I've lived 9 lives already. Like my life has been all over the place, but eating disorder recovery coaching is sticking with me for good. I finally found my little path.
How do you know that you have found your path?
How do I know? Well, again, remember I had a chaotic version of me in the past. Who's still a part of me? I still love her. She's still kind of there. But when you're in that chaotic mode, I actually called it life bulimia. So I would just take on a new job or a new class or a new skill and get rid of it when it got challenging or hard or boring. And so I became aware of that pattern and built more awareness about myself and my passions. And now I'm in everything I choose to do for the long term. So at first I took life coaching trainings and decided to be a life coach. And that was kind of cool for me, but it wasn't complete. I was missing my direction and my niche. And then once I started doing life coaching, I would always lean on my eating disorder recovery experience to inform my coaching and help bring the lessons I learned from that into who I was as a life coach. And then I was like, screw this. I'm literally always talking about eating disorder recovery. Let's see if there's an eating disorder recovery coach training out there. And lo and behold, Carolyn Costins was, I think, brand new when I stumbled upon it. So that's how it happened for me. So I knew the second I saw it because I had already invented the job in my head.
That's so cool. But so what was missing that you like, was it more so that it was an observation? You were like, oh yes. And like observation done, made, and it clicked internally?
So because I kept talking about eating disorder recovery, that was my big clue. And then also life coaching felt empty in a way, which was another thing because it's so vague. And people would come to me and be like, I want to get my financial health together. And I would be like, ha ha ha, no clue how to help you with that. I'm not like a finance person or an accountant. And so the life coaching didn't resonate with me. And I felt like the eating disorder recovery path did click because I felt like I could fully dive into that and get good at that. And that's why
Oh, no, tell me.
I think that's why I love eating disorder recovery coaching, because the more you're in it, the better you get, the more experienced you get. I don't know. It's just very specific. I love the specific nature of being an eating disorder recovery coach. What about you? What do you love about it? I feel like you're asking me all these questions, but the world needs to get to know you too.
Okay, but before we get there, how long did it take for you to be like, oh, I'm doing this life coaching thing and I'm throwing in a lot that comes from my eating disorder story in there, and then noticing the pattern and then taking that pattern as a clue to look into, is there something out there that would specifically train me for this? Was that like a question of like a few months? Like,
it was a few years. I did life coaching. I got that certification when I was around 24. And then I didn't start eating disorder recovery coach training till I was about 27. So it was a 3-year period of kind of throwing together things and trying to figure out how to make a life coaching business work. I remember hosting a huge event. I loved hosting in-person events, by the way. Before the pandemic, I hosted this event, somehow got 40 people to go when I was like 24, 25 for life coaching. And I opened with my eating disorder recovery story. Essentially, I had this huge event and I said my story, went into this entire life coaching exercise. And then at the end, everyone was like, tell us more about your story. Wow. I had problems. I found everyone would come up to me and say, I have an eating issue. I have a disordered relationship with food. I felt like when I talked about it, that's what everyone wanted to connect with and learn about. So yeah, it was just a process of many years.
But it's so cool, right? Because that illustrates the fact that we don't always just know, right? It took you years to do a thing and to try many things as you were trying this one thing, probably throwing in certain things, throwing out other things, continuing to like broaden your other activities and hobbies and like having contacts with different people. And then years later, you're like, hold on a second, actually, there's this other thing and I can do that. Mm-hmm. And it's not that you had a plan or you just did that and then immediately you noticed the thing. I feel like sometimes when we hear stories, life stories, success stories, or change transformation stories, everything sounds like bam, 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 right? Like I had this, then that happened, and here I am. And it's like, no, that takes a long time. And sometimes we know what we're doing when we move forward. And sometimes we don't know, we just try and we figure it out as we go. And that's normal. And that's not that there's something wrong with us or with our plans or with what we're wishing for or hoping for or all that. And it's just interesting because I feel like now that we all have access to so many stories, right? It's so easy to hear about someone. The internet has millions probably of stories available. And of course, we only hear the success stories and we look at the people that inspire us, and that's great. But at the same time, I feel like that makes us forget that it didn't just happen. They didn't just like click their fingers or just did the one training and everything fell into place. It's a mix of work, privilege, good timing, luck, meeting the right person at the right moment, and then life just unfolds.
Yeah, exactly. And I think on the internet, they do a really terrible job giving us unrealistic expectations on reaching your dreams. I know when I started being a life coach, I just assumed it would blow up overnight. I was like, wow, I've figured it out. I'm just going to become the next Marie Forleo, who's this like famous business life coach lady in the US. And I honestly just like was so crushed when it wasn't happening. Because it was a very unrealistic expectation. So I had to recalibrate and recognize I'm in this for the long haul. I actually did give up life coaching for a brief stint and people kept coming and asking for coaching. So I decided to start back at it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I actually heard this really cool metaphor recently on a podcast, I think. But essentially, everyone wants to climb Mount Everest, right? That's like not everyone, I definitely don't, but it's like a popular thing people want to do. Essentially, not everyone can go speed right up to the top of Mount Everest because essentially you die. Like you're not adjusted to the climate. You might not have the skills to make it. Your body might not be comfortable at that altitude, whatever it is. If you were to go right up to Mount Everest it's just actually not safe. So a lot of people who climb Mount Everest, what I heard, they'll go up a little, down a little, up a little, down a little. They make adjustments for their body so they can actually acclimate. So it takes a lot of time to get to the top of Mount Everest. And I love that analogy because I think many of us think recovery is, oh, I just want a straight shot up. But a lot of times your setbacks in recovery are informing you and strengthening you so that when you finally get there, it can be a sustainable achievement. And I know achievement might not the right word for it, but it is, recovery is an achievement in a way.
I'm cool with it saying that recovery is an achievement.
Yeah. Don't want to trigger any perfectionists. That's all.
No, because actually I've worked on reclaiming the concept of achieving with so many clients, because that's the trap we fall into. Our eating disorders are so good at being like, if you do this, that's achieving. For example, and hoping I'm not triggering anyone, like if you don't eat until that time, that's an achievement, right? Or you've been the person around the table that has eaten the least, and that's an achievement because diet culture teaches you that. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Who said that's the definition of achieving? Is that aligned with your values? Yes or no? Most people are like, no. It's like, great. How about we reclaim that word and realign it with what actually matters to you? And from now on, that's achieving. And so when you meet your goals that we've set during our coaching session, which are small, consistent, repeated goals over time that are still flexible. And when you meet those, that's an achievement. And that's a win. And fine, I'm totally cool with calling that an achievement. And at least you can still cultivate that sense, because it is an important sense to cultivate, right? Because that supports your motivation and your willingness to continue to show up day after day. Whereas if you're like, well, I have to say goodbye to achievements because that's only under the disordered perfectionistic model that works, that's ultra frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. It goes back to the whole temperament thing, and your temperament can be an asset or a liability, right? And you want to be able to redirect your achievement mentality towards making achievements in recovery and, setting goals and actually achieving those that bring you closer to the healing and life that you want.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful part of recovery, honestly, the fact that you get to reclaim a lot of who you are. And of course, there's a lot of stuff that you throw out the window. I mean, let's be real, like the beliefs that are completely based on BS that we've picked up over the years. Those ones, you put them in the trash, you tie the trash out and you put it in the bigger trash, and then it goes out and then you never see it again. At least that's what you try to do. But there's some stuff that is who you really are. And that's a perfect example of one of those things where it's like, you don't have to say goodbye to who you are. You're reclaiming those parts and you're using them so that they're life expanding instead of life limiting. And because that's what an eating disorder is, it's a massively life limiting mental illness.
Yeah. When you said that, I was trying to think of our YouTube page name.
Life expanders. Why not? Life amplifiers. What is an expander in English? Oh, for anyone who does not know, I don't even know if this will be in the recording. I'm not actually a native English speaker. So when I have a hard time with words, that's why, because every once in a brain,
oh my God.
Once in a while, my brain will do this and it will not compute and it will just not come up with the right word like it just did. So that was that.
I was just going to say you have perfect English, but I guess not.
I really don't. It's not far.
You really do. You really do.
So there we go. Life expanders. Maybe.
No, it's a no for me. It's a no.
I threw it out there. And then when I heard me say it, I was like, no. That's what it sounds like.
Guys, in the comments, leave us your suggestions for what we can title our YouTube channel, because we have no idea. But we're going to be posting this probably as soon as we can, which means essentially we might not have a title when we start posting videos.
I'm cool with that, Also, we started by saying this is a Q&A, and we have asked questions and we have answered them, but none of them were questions I received in advance. But then I don't know how long we've been recording for.
We've been recording for a while. We could probably wrap this up and make this episode 1.
This will be episode 1.
Yeah.
Get the vibe.
People will understand. It also helps us get the vibe because we had no clue what this was going to be like.
Yes, that's true.
So essentially, we all are learning together about this YouTube.
You're just joining us around our virtual table, listening to us chit chat about stuff and link it with recovery more often than not, especially in the episodes to come.
Mm-hmm, exactly. We will be actually talking about direct recovery help and things like that in this channel, but we do love our tangents. And I think that's why everyone connected with our Instagram live that inspired this entire thing. So
yeah, I think so too. On that note, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for this first episode. Another first with you, work wife.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone watching. And thank you, Anne-Claire. You're the best work wife ever. Thank you to the Recovery Collective members. We love you guys. I just want to thank them too. And we will catch up on the flip side.
See you soon.
Bye.